So you're here because you want to start a brand, and I'm going to tell you 3 steps that I think you should do before you even invest any money into it. So one of the first things that I think is the most important is to really figure out a good name for your brand. The thing about it is you want to make sure that the name that you choose is pretty unique, but at the same time, you're going to have to make sure that it's easy to tell people what exactly it's about. The number one question you're going to get is, so what is this name and what is it about? Like, what does it mean? Can you answer that? Can you explain it very easy in a not generic way? And also, are they able to take that answer and go tell a friend, a cousin, a coworker, someone that would be interested in the brand as well? So one of the easiest things to do as far as marketing, I think, is to have it so understandable that someone can just explain it. Let's just say you wanted to make a brand and called it Burrito Boys. The whole topic of your brand is just that it represents people that love burritos, right? So someone says, what is Burrito Boys about? You know what? We love burritos and we do merch and this is what we do. They're going to say, oh, okay, I love burritos too. Let me go tell my cousin, my friend, my coworker. It's as easy as that. But if you have something that's very complicated, let's say like robots for the future or something, and people say, what is that about? And you don't really have a good understanding, you just thought the word sounded cool, then they're not going to really go and want to tell a friend because they're not going to understand. Nobody wants to look stupid. That's the number one thing that I've found out. And especially with a name like Human Catalyst, I found out the hard way. I think you can do it. You can have a name that's very unique, but you got to work 10 times harder. And if that's what you're willing to do, then go for it. These tips don't apply to everyone and for everything. I know there's outliers and I know there's things for different people, but I'm just telling you what I found out through experience. And I'm telling you, there's some ways that are harder than others. The number 2 thing that I encounter all the time, even though something's a brand, there's probably more, but there's 3 main topics that I think. There's 1, there's an art-based brand. 2, there's a message-based brand. And 3, there's a fashion-based brand. And I think that this is the difference with all 3 of them. An art-based brand, it's really about the art and the artist and the pictures that you're putting on the shirts. It's really about the art. That should always be the focus. People aren't really concerned with the type of materials, things like that. Here's a good example of how I say people don't care. Think about a college. You want to buy college merch, right? You want to buy something from San Diego State, for example. All you really care is that it says San Diego State. You don't really care, is this a heavyweight? Is this lightweight? Is this material, breathable? Things like that. You're not so concerned. What you're more concerned with is the artwork and what it represents. That goes hand in hand with a message brand. But the thing about art-based brands and message-based brands is it's not so important as far as, the kind of style, the kind of fitment, things like that, as far as the fashion of it. I mean, of course, you need good quality items. Basic is what most of your customers are going to be about. People aren't so concerned with, is it a heavyweight? Oh, this is the best quality garment that I've ever gotten in my life. What they're more concerned with is when they buy this item, are they able to rep it and represent what you're about and what the brand's about? And that's what they appreciate. But if you want to start a fashion brand, something like a streetwear brand, then of course, the quality's a little higher, the weight of the garments, all of that matters, right? But at the same time, that's a whole different animal, So you got to really think about who you're targeting and be honest with yourself, because nowadays streetwear is such a complex territory. There's brands that are out there and they're very much in line with like luxury brands, but you also have streetwear brands that are very much in line with merch, musicians, YouTubers, things like that. Those are all your competition, right? So you got to think about it. Like, really, are you a message-based brand? Are you focusing too much time on fashion-related problems? You really don't need to. The third most important tip in starting your brand is really figuring out how you want to execute this. There's different ways to start your brand, and I'm just going to name a few. The first way, I think you could do a pre-order method. And the pre-order method is what you do is you mock up this item, you show it to your fan base, and then you see if they want to buy it. And as soon as people buy it, then you give an X amount of time, and then what you do is you send it into production. The problem with this in like 2022 and probably foreseeable in 2023 is that inventory really sucks. You're going to get orders for items and you may get 100 extra larges, but on Earth, there's only 50 of this shirt in this particular color. So what are you going to do? You can't fulfill the items. The other problem I see with pre-orders is that some people bite off more than they can chew. They sell more things than they can actually make, produce, and ship, and then they start stressing out. The hard part about pre-orders is you're holding on to other people's money. Sure, you didn't have to come out of the pocket because people basically paid for the production, but at the same time, you have to come through. So many times people don't come through, they ruin their name, and then people are just pissed off. If you can handle it, then I would say go for it, because I think it's a great way, because you don't know how big you can get, but if it's a pre-order, you can get as big as people want to buy it, right? The other way I'm going to tell you is that if you get things made like physical items, so you can do this in all different ways. You could do it DTG, you could do it yourself with like heat presses and screen printed heat transfers, things like that. You could even invest in equipment to screen print yourself. The one warning I would give you about doing that is, to me, screen printing is an art. It's going to take time to figure out. You're going to think that it's easy because you see all these videos, you hear all these people, and they explain it like, oh, you just screen print, you buy some ink, stick your shirt down. If you were to see these shirts, up close and you were to touch them and look at them, it's probably trash. It's probably stuff that you wouldn't want to sell. So no matter what, like I said, no matter what method you choose, you want to make sure that the quality is good. These are your customers and you want them to come back. You don't want to sell junk, right? If you do, just don't do clothes to begin with. The other way I'll tell you is, like, if you don't want to invest any money, you could do print on demand. And print on demand, what they do is you mock up this item and then you send it to someone that actually fulfills it and produces it. What happens is you don't have any inventory. The customer orders it from you, and then you order it from the fulfillment company like Printful or Printify, things like that. And then what happens is they make it and then they send it to the customer. You actually never touch it. You never have to deal with it. And you just get your little cut from the end of it. I think that's great, but I'm going to tell you a downfall. And that kind of leads into bonus tip number 4. What are you doing this for? Are you in it for the money? Because if you're in it for the money, it's going to take a really long time. Sure, there's people on YouTube that tell you, oh, this is so easy. Do this. I scaled my business, 0 money, 0 whatever. I went to $1 million in 3 weeks, etc. I think those are all really rare. Do I think that it's possible? To tell you the truth, I really have no idea. I know that it didn't work out that way for me, and I'm just being honest with you. For me, I tried to decide to screen print, and it took me so long to figure out and how to learn and how to even make something that I was comfortable enough selling. Let's say I did 24 shirts. I would only make 5 that I thought were passable, and when I say passable, I think that's even pushing it. It's really hard. Screen printing is an art. Anything DIY is an art. But if you're just trying to make money and you don't really care, and you don't care if these customers ever come back, I don't even know why you're doing it to begin with. But you should really think about that. So that's my bonus tips for you guys. I wish you success in all that you do. But if you're going to start a brand, just understand it's going to take some time. It's a little bit hard. There's a lot of learning curve in all different ways if you're going to do it. And I would suggest trying out different methods. I know people that have been successful DIYing. I know people that are successful screen printing, getting their stuff done. I know people that do pre-orders. I know people that do print on demand only. And everyone has their own way. There's no one way to do it. It really just depends on who your customer is, the quality they expect, and are you able to fulfill those items and do good at business. So hopefully that helps. And if it does, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below, and thank you so much for watching. Till next time.